and welcome to Nothing Ever Happens in Canada, but we know this is simply not true. I'm Canadian Girl. Thanks for joining me today. This is a Canadian podcast about the myths, legends, and just good old stories Canada has to tell. I received a lovely 5-star review this week that totally brightened my day, so thank you so much, T. Malfoy. Your kind words, they came at a very much needed time, and if you're listening, I'd love to know what you learned. You can reach me on social media at the handle @NothingCanada on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or you can email me at CanadianGirl2319@gmail.com. These are always in the show notes below if anyone needs them. We're off to Nunavut to explore the ladies of the deep cold waters.
You're about to enter into a new world of knowledge, curiosities, and high strangeness. This is a podcast of Straight Up Strange Productions.
Do head over to straightupstrange.com to check out my fabulously strange family and their shows, as they are a must-add to your playlist for all things paranormal, science, true crime, history, the unknown, and so much more. We made it through all that business. Now pull those socks up tall, zip your jackets up tight. We're off to Nunavut, and it's only 11 degrees Celsius today. That's 51 degrees for my American listeners. That's pretty lucky, considering the average temperature here is about -15. That's 5 degrees Fahrenheit. That's only 5 degrees warmer than Siberia, Russia on average. So yeah, it's a little bit cold here. The good news is there's no clouds in the sky, so it'll be a beautifully chilly day on the water as we go searching for the legendary Hualupulik, a woman known to come up from the dark cold waters and snatch children off the shores who disobey their parents' warnings. We'll also meet goddess of the sea known as Sedna, who, when on land, refused to choose a partner she knew, and when she chose an outsider, her life would change forever. Now she is known to control the blessings of each season's hunt of all sea creatures. Join me now as we go on a deep dive into the very cold waters of Nunavut and discover some of their mythology. Welcome to Nunavut, Canada, the newest, most northern, and largest territory. Before we get any closer to the water, let me tell you some things about this frozen wonderland. Before we go any farther, I just want to throw out a word of caution. Please remember, these stories being told today are myths and are not considered fact. That being said, some phrases and scenes presented may seem harsh, but they are meant to teach lessons. So just try to remember that while listening, and if there are little ears around, just be cautious. There are a few parts that may seem scary to them. That being said, you know me. I will not say anything too harsh or in great detail, just throwing it out there before we begin. In April 1999, Nunavut would finally separate from the Northwest Territories after many years of trying to reach agreements. They were finally made with the Nunavut Act and the Nunavut Land Claim Agreement Act. Being one of the world's most remote and sparsely populated areas, there is only 35,944 known people to live up there. The majority of residents are indigenous and are known to have lived on the lands for over 4,000 years. They are spread over a landmass of 2,093,190 kilometers squared. And in miles, that's 808,000 miles squared, just slightly smaller than Mexico and said to be about the size of Saudi Arabia. The biggest city is Iqaluit, with a population of 7,082, reported on 2016. After that, there is a handful of small towns with about 2,000 people or less. Her borders are so big, she touches the Northwest Territories, Manitoba, Ontario, Quebec, and Newfoundland. That's pretty amazing. Almost half the country. A place known as Alert, located just 817 kilometers from the North Pole, has a population of only 62 people in 2016 and is the world's most northern, permanently inhabited town. If you're a fan of the Vikings and Norse sagas, many believe the coastline of Baffin Island is thought to be Helluland, which is described in the sagas. They also have a super cool license plate, though it's not as iconic as the polar bear-shaped one from Northwest Territories. It does have a polar bear in the center, northern lights, and an Inukshuk in the bottom right. An Inukshuk, in case you are not familiar with it, is a pile of rocks that are stacked up to look like a human form. If my memory serves me right, they are left behind to let other humans know that they were there. The prices for groceries in northern communities are outrageous due to the travel time it takes to get the products there. I found some prices from a video on YouTube from 2010. A loaf of bread was over $5. Apples, $9.25 a kilogram. Juice, $8. Ice cream, $13. Pineapple, $12. Milk, $17. Frozen pizza, $18. Listerine, $17. Diapers, $80. Laundry soap, $25. So next time you look at your grocery bill and cringe, just remember our northern friends. Now let's head down to the water's edge and learn the story of Qualupalik. Make sure you stay warm, my friends, as we are going to be right along the water's edge and the winds can get pretty cold coming off the ocean. But before we do we have any children in the group? Okay, make sure we do a head count now and on the way out. Qualupalik can be quite sneaky. Adults, I'll need you to walk on the side closest to the water at all times and keep an eye on all children, everyone. Children, this is very important. If you hear humming, singing, smell rotten eggs, or feel drawn to the water in any way, please tell an adult immediately and move away from the water as fast as you can. Said to lie deep below in the frozen waters that surround Nunavut lies a water spirit from indigenous folklore with pale green skin, a humanoid creature with long black hair. She has hollow eyes that do not blink, knife-like fingers, and webbed feet. She lives deep in the dark, cold waters, watching and waiting for children to wander close to the shore. It's known to hum hypnotically, making children walk right into their grasp. There is also the stench of sulfur in the air whenever she is near. Once captured by the Qualupalik, the child is tucked into an amatek, which is an indigenous parka, which allows the baby to be carried on the mother's back. Then she takes the child into the deep sea and keeps them forever. Some say she adopts them as her own, putting them into a deep sleep in a very dark cave at the bottom of the sea so they will not escape. Others say she eats them to feed her immortality, and as long as there are misbehaving children, she will always be alive. Be warned, it's not just the water she stalks. Ice too. She is known to knock at weak points in the ice, drawing children near them, only to smash through the ice and steal them abruptly. There is also debate whether there is only one Qualupalik or many. She has been seen in the ocean as well as many deep lakes. As one legend goes, just a quick word of caution about these ancient indigenous myths. They may seem harsh at times, but remember, they are meant to teach lessons and are not fact. A grandmother lives with her grandson, but unfortunately, times are hard and food is scarce. The boy cries so much from hunger that his grandmother actually summons Qualupalik to be rid of him. The creature indeed shows up, wraps the boy in its parka, and vanishes back to the ocean with the boy. The grandmother begins to feel remorse for her actions and asks local hunters to go searching for her grandson. When the waters warm and the ice begins to melt, the boy returns to the surface to play with the hunters. As soon as the hunters would approach him, he would tug on a seaweed rope that Quillupilik had tied to him, and in an instant he would be pulled back to the ocean. The truth is, he did not want to return to his grandmother. He repeated the game with the hunters over and over again, taunting them, until finally a hunter managed to sneak up on the boy and cut the rope. They quickly returned him to his grandmother. Another version of the tale goes, there was a boy playing by the water who was warned by his father, of course, not to do so. He was snatched by Quillupilik and right in front of his brother. His brother ran back to the village to tell his father. The brother now lived in fear of the water's edge. He had seen the Quillupilik his father had warned him about, and it had took his very own brother. The boy's father was so distraught he went out looking for his son. He would not give up searching no matter what. He vowed until the Quillupilik releases his son. Quillupilik began to fear her hiding spot in the ocean would be discovered by the father who would not stop searching. She agreed to return the boy as long as he never disobeyed his parents or any elders again. A deal was struck and the boy became a model citizen, and Quillupilik's lair remains hidden to this day. The tale is used to teach children not to disobey their parents and not to go off running alone. It is told with love and meant to keep them safe. They even give off a warning by humming before they appear, allowing the child one more final chance to make the right decision. In 2010, there was a short film done in a stop-motion style photography produced by the Inuit Broadcasting Corporation and the National Film Board of Canada. It tells another version of the story and is an absolutely stunning piece of artwork. I will of course include a link below. If you enjoy this tale, I highly recommend you watch it. It's also very short. Famous children's author Robert Munsch featured Quillupilik in his 1988 book, A Promise is a Promise. Co-author of the book is Michael Kushigak, I hope I said that right, or close, a well-known indigenous writer. The protagonist in the book is caught by Quillupilik, and in the book promises to bring all her siblings to them if they let her go. She then confesses her promise to her parents, who help her outsmart the monsters. Joy Ang is an artist from Edmonton who has worked on a children's book about the Quillupilik, and her work is amazing. She brings Quillupilik alive so children can understand the legend with just the tiny bit amount of fear that is needed, and of course, there is a link below to her work. We're just in time to catch our boat this afternoon. We're heading out on the Hudson Bay to go searching for the legendary goddess of the sea hunt, Sedna. Grab your life jacket and pick a seat as we cruise out into the sunset and I tell you about this famous lady of the deep cold waters. Known today by many names such as Nulajuk, Talajuk, Sedna, and more, she is said to reward people of the land with food from the sea. Without Sedna's blessing, as we are going to call her, one's hunt will fail in the sea world. With her blessing, she will drive walruses, seals, polar bears, and schools of fish towards the lands for a bountiful hunt. Sedna is a very important figure in the indigenous mythology world. As the story goes, many years ago, Sedna would refuse to marry anyone within her tribe. Suitors would come and she would refuse them all. She was a strong and beautiful woman and thought she knew what she wanted. They did not have it. Others say she simply was too comfortable at home, with furs, tons of food, and her family all around to care for her. She did not want to leave and go be a wife. One day, she would meet a mysterious outsider. She quickly decided to marry him and move away with him to his island. He turned out to be a seabird in disguise and kept Sedna captive in a nest high above so she could not get down. Sedna would grow more frustrated with her husband's weird appearance, his inability to provide proper care and food for her. Since he was a bird, their diet was very limited. Fish, worms, insects. They had no proper home and were unable to have children. Her father would hear about what had happened and sent for her rescue. Himself and many tribesmen would head out to find her, in which they did find her high up in the nest of a seabird. Sedna and her father would begin the long journey back home by canoe. Her husband returned home to find Sedna gone and began feeling abandoned and angry. Upon attempting to cross the sea, Sedna and her father would encounter a great storm sent by her seabird husband to stop them. They tried their hardest to continue on, but the father realized he would never be able to cross the sea with Sedna in his boat. He threw Sedna overboard out of great fear, and she managed to catch the side of the canoe, still holding on by just her fingers. She pleaded with her father to pull her back in the boat, but the selfish father refused. Wanting to live himself, took out his knife and cut Sedna's fingers off. Sedna fell into the sea and was gone. The storm passed, and her father continued on home without his daughter. It is said when Sedna's fingers fell into the sea, they became the whales, walruses, seals, polar bears, and fish. As she drifted down into the sea, she was transformed into the mythical being that we know today, Sedna, the goddess of the sea hunt and all sea creatures. In a nicer version of the tale, her hands were said to be frozen and smashed to pieces during the storm as she tried to climb back in the boat after being thrown overboard by the waves, but this version is not often told. Another version also states her father showed up, kills her husband, and takes Sedna away, which was seen by a friend of the husband who swears to get revenge for his friend. He would fly over the canoe, flapping his wings as wildly as he could, creating a great storm. Today, Sedna is treated with respect, honored with ceremonies, blessings, and celebrations, in hopes she will provide a plentiful hunt for them. There is also a tradition of sprinkling sea water onto the animals that they have harvested to thank the goddess for her blessing. If the hunters have not been able to catch any sea life for quite some time, a local shaman will transform into a fish and swim down to the bottom of the ocean and comb the tangles out of Sedna's hair and put braids into it again. Once this has been done, all the sea creatures will return, allowing the hunters to hunt again. Some say she would keep all sea creatures in her hair and would release them after receiving offerings that have been made. Bert Hannah is an artist from Nunavut. He was selected to create a sculpture of the beloved sea goddess, Sedna. It was commissioned as part of the 150th celebration for Canada's birthday. It was unveiled on Monday, April the 8th, 2019 in Ottawa, just 7 days after the 20th anniversary of Nunavut becoming its own territory. It will be on display in the Parliament Building's West Block until restoration work is completed in the Centre Block building, where it will sit in a foyer amongst a series of other stunning pieces of artwork from as far back as the 1970s. For my vodka fans out there, a vodka named Sedna that is produced in Newfoundland. It uses icebergs to make the goddess's vodka and is sold only in Newfoundland stores. But you can, of course, order it online. The link will be down below. There is an all-female expedition team known as Sedna, in honor of the sea goddess. The girls plan to snorkel 3,000 kilometers, over 1,800 miles, in the frigid Northwest Passage. These girls are actually snorkeling across the top of Canada. It's pretty damn amazing. Led by expedition founder and team leader Susan R. Eaton, from Calgary, Alberta. She is a geologist and geophysicist, conservationist, and journalist. She is also joined by fellow Canadian Sarah Walsh, a multidisciplinary hydrographer from Newfoundland, Christina Godding, a geologist and offshore surveyor, Ursula Tokarska, an alpinist and adventurer from Toronto, Ontario, Krista Bowman, marine management and policy from Nova Scotia, Dr. Diane Howard Langlois, a well-recognized artist, reporter, videographer, and scholar from Calgary, Alberta, and a whole lot more other remarkable women on the team. The expedition is set to take place over the summer months of 2018 and 2019. The goal, to bring global awareness to the Arctic's disappearing ice while combining indigenous and scientific knowledge and creating a space for girls to be a part of science and exploration. They hope to document many changes in the ocean and sea ice over time. Christina Godding, the geologist on the team mentioned above, is quoted as saying by the Nova Scotia Community Cover Story site, "There was a time that ships couldn't sail the Northwest Passage because it was blocked solid by ice, and now we can swim in it." If you're interested in the team of girls and their amazing expedition known as Sedna in detail, please see the show notes below. I highly recommend you check them out. They are a very fascinating, ambitious bunch of ladies. I wish them all the best in the exploration across the Northwest Passage in the Arctic seas of Canada. Finally, we're back to the shore, and now time to get you all back home. Well, that was probably our most northern adventure so far and our biggest deep dive into the indigenous world of mythology in Canada. I hope you enjoyed our trip up north to Nunavut today and exploring the myths of Sedna and Quilupalik. I hope your toes are still dry, you were able to stay warm, and we didn't scare you too much. As I mentioned at the beginning, these myths are meant to teach lessons, and I found though yes, some parts were a bit dark, there were also very beautiful parts. And you can't have all beauty all the time. There has to be some darkness. So we do learn fear, how to grieve, deal with anger, bravery, joy, and love. Really feels like there has to be that perfect balance that allows you to feel your emotions in all ranges. I do believe these stories help achieve this, and that's why they have survived the test of time without needing to be written down. They are just known, like the stories of our boogeyman and tooth fairy. They are stories told to children by elders to help explain what cannot be explained to children at the time, passed down by word of mouth and traditions, teaching very much needed lessons to little people around the world. One was said to snatch children from the shore, and the other was said to control the animals of the sea. Both were ladies of Nunavut's deep cold waters, and now you know they just might be in yours too. Like I've warned you all before, you just never know what's in the water out there. I'm Canadian Girl. Until next time, my friends. Hey guys, I just wanted to give you a quick update. Mr. Canadian Girl has been working hard behind the scenes for me and has figured out how to upload videos on YouTube. So check out at Nothing Canada on YouTube, just trying to do whatever I can do to make it that much easier for you all to listen, whenever and wherever you are. Want to help support the show? You can do that in 3 simple ways. The first one, you can leave us a shiny 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. This small gesture means so much to this podcast as it allows us to move around on the podcast charts and meet more awesome listeners like you. The second, you can stop by our souvenir shop and pick up a souvenir from one of our great adventures and take it on your very own. There's t-shirts, water bottles, notebooks, and so much more. Do head over to our souvenir shop today and grab some adventure gear. And finally, the third way you can help support the show is by donation. We have a fancy PayPal button that can be found on the top right of our webpage, nothingcanada.com. This button allows you the option to donate as much as you want, whenever you want. All donations will be used for the channel by buying new books for research, paying for the podcast website, and upgrading equipment. All 3 links to help support the show, of course, can be found in the show notes below. I thank you all so much for your support of the show. It means the world to me. My friends who always listen to the very, very end, you're the raddest people out there. I hope your week is straight summertime awesomeness after this chilly adventure, 'cause you deserve it. I'll meet you back here as soon as I can with our next adventure. Until then, I'm sending positive vibes all your way, and I hope you're sending them back mine. I'm Canadian Girl.